UK media stunned as truth finally breaks. This is what a real royal scandal looks like. We owe Harry and Meghan Sussex an apology for years. The British public was fed a carefully cooked narrative, one that painted Prince Harry and Meghan Sussex as villains in their own story. Every newspaper headline, every talk show debate, every tabloid whisper became a weapon aimed at two people whose only crime was choosing peace over palace politics. But now, as the truth breaks through the fog of hypocrisy, the United Kingdom finds itself at a reckoning. A journalist, Rebecca Reid, has said what millions have secretly thought. This is what a real royal scandal looks like. We owe Harry and Meghan Sussex an apology. That single sentence has shaken Britain to its core. It is an admission, long overdue, that the media's obsession with vilifying the Sussexes was one of the darkest chapters in modern royal history. For years, their names were dragged through headlines that cared more about clicks than conscience. Harry, the boy who walked behind his mother's coffin as the world watched, was mocked for daring to protect his own wife. Meghan Sussex, the woman who brought grace, warmth, and diversity into the monarchy, was dissected for breathing differently than the royal script allowed. And all the while, the real scandals, those involving power, privilege, and protection of the indefensible, were buried under layers of royal spin. Reid's words strike like thunder because they carry what the tabloids never could: remorse. It is the sound of Britain beginning to look in the mirror and confront the ugliness it created. For too long, Harry and Meghan Sussex were portrayed as troublemakers rather than truth-tellers. Every smile was branded calculated. Every act of kindness was spun as self-promotion. When they spoke of racism, bullying, and fear, the establishment called them liars. When they sought independence, they were labelled traitors. Yet now, years later, the country that ridiculed them can no longer deny the truth. The royal scandals that have unfolded since have shown what corruption and moral decay truly look like. And it isn't in California, it's much closer to Buckingham Palace. The apology Britain owes Harry and Meghan Sussex is not just a polite gesture, it is a moral necessity. They were mocked for warning that the institution protects its own at any cost. They were condemned for suggesting that some within the palace and press were complicit in destroying their mental health. Every claim they made, every tear shed, every step away from royal life has been vindicated by the silence that now surrounds the true wrongdoers. The public, once convinced of their guilt, now sees clearly who the real victims were. Rebecca Reid's opinion piece represents more than journalism. It represents confession. It is the first ripple of conscience in a sea of denial. The British establishment, media, monarchy, and those who dance between them, built an empire of deceit around the Sussexes. The damage was not only reputational but deeply human. Harry lost his family ties. Meghan Sussex was driven to despair. They were hounded across continents, their security stripped, their motives questioned. Yet through it all, they built something beautiful: a life of purpose, integrity, and love. Their story has become a study in resilience, and their happiness is the one revenge that no tabloid can rewrite. This breaking moment, this national awakening, feels like the beginning of justice. For the first time, major voices in the media are publicly acknowledging what millions of people already knew: the treatment of Harry and Meghan Sussex was shameful. It wasn't just poor coverage, it was cruelty disguised as commentary. Britain prided itself on fairness, but where was that fairness when a pregnant woman begged for compassion? Where was decency when private letters were published, when lies were turned into front-page news? Rebecca Reid has ripped the veil off the hypocrisy, and the country can no longer pretend that the monarchy's image is spotless. Every era has its reckoning, and this is ours. The truth is that Meghan Sussex was never the problem. Her confidence, her intelligence, and her empathy exposed how outdated and insecure the royal system had become. She dared to bring modernity and multiculturalism into a house built on centuries of sameness, and for that she was punished. The campaign against her was systematic, coordinated, and merciless. It wasn't just the tabloids. It was television hosts, commentators, and courtiers, feeding off the same toxic script. Today, as voices like Reid's pierce through that narrative, Britain is being forced to confront the painful question: how did we let this happen? We were told to worship silence and obedience. We were told to trust that the firm knows best. Yet what the Sussexes exposed was not betrayal, but humanity. They showed us that love is worth more than lineage, that kindness is stronger than protocol, and that the courage to leave is sometimes the truest form of loyalty, to oneself, to one's family, and to truth itself. Harry and Meghan Sussex's decision to walk away from royal life was painted as rebellion. In reality, it was survival. They refused to become casualties of the same system that destroyed Harry's mother. That courage deserves admiration, not condemnation. The apology we owe them is collective. It belongs to every tabloid editor who sold pain as entertainment. It belongs to every broadcaster who mocked Meghan Sussex's tears. It belongs to every politician who weaponized their names to distract from national failures. And it belongs to every reader who clicked, shared and judged without asking who benefited from the destruction. The Sussexes were treated as scapegoats to shield others from scrutiny. But time, as it always does, has revealed everything. The so-called scandals of Meghan Sussex's avocado toast or Harry's memoir pale in comparison to the rot that festers within the walls of privilege. That is what Reid means by a real royal scandal. Britain now faces a choice: cling to the lies of the past or embrace the truth with humility. The truth is that Harry and Meghan Sussex told us who they were from the start: honest, compassionate, progressive, and brave. We just refused to listen. We mistook grace for ambition, truth for treachery, and independence for arrogance. Now the apology must be loud enough to echo through the same halls that once mocked them. It must come from newspapers, institutions, and citizens alike. Not because they demand it, but because decency does. The shift in tone across British media is already palpable. Younger generations especially see through the charade. They admire the Sussexes for creating their own destiny, for prioritizing mental health, equality, and freedom over tradition. What the establishment once painted as abandonment, many now see as enlightenment. Harry and Meghan Sussex have built a legacy that transcends royal titles. They are global figures of empathy and strength. Their Archewell Foundation continues to uplift communities, their voices advocate for justice, and their love story stands as a beacon in a world starving for authenticity. Reid's declaration is the crack in the dam. It will not be the last. More journalists will follow, more apologies will surface, and perhaps even within palace walls there will be whispers of regret. Because deep down, even those who vilified them must know they were wrong. History has already begun its rewrite. When future generations study this era, they will not remember the lies. They will remember the courage of a prince and his wife who dared to demand respect. The hypocrisy of defending certain royals while crucifying others will forever stain Britain's press history. When genuine scandals of abuse of power, corruption, or moral failure emerged, the media looked away. But when Meghan Sussex wore nail polish, it became national outrage. When Harry defended his family, it was called betrayal. Such absurdity cannot be justified any longer. The apology is not only moral, it is logical. The world has changed, and the truth stands unshaken. In California, Harry and Meghan Sussex are not hiding, they are thriving. They have reclaimed their voices, their joy, and their peace. And as Britain awakens to its complicity, their dignity shines brighter than ever. They never needed royal approval to validate their worth. What they needed, and still deserve, is fairness. Reid's words mark the beginning of that restoration. They remind us that apologies are not weakness, but wisdom. This is what a real royal scandal looks like, she wrote, and she is right. A scandal is not a couple choosing freedom, it is a system choosing silence. A scandal is not honesty, it is hypocrisy. A scandal is not stepping away from an outdated institution. It is protecting that institution at the expense of truth. The Sussexes did not break the monarchy. They exposed what was already broken. And now, Britain must confront that reality with courage. The apology, when it finally comes in full, will not erase the years of cruelty, but it will signal growth. It will show that a nation capable of injustice is also capable of redemption. Harry and Meghan Sussex never asked for perfection, only for understanding. And now, as even their critics begin to soften, perhaps that understanding is finally here. So yes, Rebecca Reid is right. This is what a real royal scandal looks like. It looks like a kingdom finally realizing that the people it exiled were the ones who told the truth all along. It looks like a press that must now answer to its conscience. It looks like a public learning that empathy should never be conditional. It looks like justice. Late, but not lost. For once, the headline gets it right. Britain owes them more than curiosity. It owes them an apology, a heartfelt collective acknowledgement that love was never the enemy. The nation that mocked their happiness now envies their peace. The establishment that tried to silence them cannot mute the sound of truth any longer. The time for excuses has ended. The time for apology has come.
The submission itself sounds nice. And to my amazing and peculiar Sussex family, thank you all for watching our videos and tuning in to Daily Diaries Friday's update. Keep it light, keep it there, and see you next time in our next episode. Bye bye. May you have a good day and a good time. Keep shining. Bye bye.